Hadi, I believe, is in the conversation. These judges are going to play with us right now. They're not going to give away this show by going 1, 2, 3. Like, you know what I mean? We're not going to figure it out right away. But I mean, I keep coming back to what Brandon is bringing. He's probably one of the more improved bodybuilders over the past 5 years.
This is a pose which really Brandon dominates tonight in his quarter turns. He's got so much depth through his hamstring and his thigh. He's got that upper body, he's got that mass, that shoulder, he's got that.
And to see the width difference between William and Hadi, we were talking earlier, this is where Hadi really is bringing it to William Bonac. So now we've got to look next to Hadi over at Brandon, who Hadi is right there.
Hadi's lived up to my expectations, seeing him in the flesh, as well as, you know, pictures and videos, etc. And let's go back. He was a 212 athlete. Progressed, moved up, came into the open class, made a massive impression.
You want to hear something crazy? Dexter Jackson started out his career as a bantamweight.
Wow.
He is a full-fledged 230-pound bodybuilder now and has an Olympia trophy, 9 Arnold Classic championships, 29 victories, coming from the bantamweight division.
Front lat spread. And it looks like the veteran Dexter Jackson has actually improved in the last 20 minutes between the first round of posing.
Yeah, I actually believe that Dexter is battling it out with Rolly Winkler for 4th place.
But at the moment, guys, it looks like first and second look like it's between potentially Hadi and Brandon.
That's where I'm at. I was going to say that just before you said it, which would then leave William as the odd man out fighting for that 3rd place spot. Who would have thought, Neil, about 3 years ago that we'd be talking about Hadi and Brandon Curry potentially posing down for the Olympia title?
But this is what it's about. So this is supposed to be an international sport for everybody, and unfortunately, obviously, with issues between countries, it's forced this gentleman away from having the chance to prove himself as a true Olympian competitor, and he's really made a great impression here. Him and his coach, Harry Rambod, they've done a great job.
Guys, I gotta say, I love the open title this year, and I love the fact that it is just wide open to who brings their best.
Well, let me tell you, the whole weekend's been great, Tim. I mean, what Dan Solomon has done with Tamer El Gundy producing this show, and Dan Solomon presenting this competition and bringing his entire crew and staff here together. This is probably one of the most memorable Olympias that we've had in a long time, not to mention it's historical in nature. Crowning of a new Mr. Olympia, which we witnessed a year ago with Sean Roden defeating Phil Heath. This one has a little bit more suspense and hype to it, because these are guys that were never supposed to win the Olympia. These are guys we weren't going to be talking about as a Mr. Olympia winner, and now they're in the conversation.
In addition to what Dan Solomon and his team and Tamer have done, 650 plus competitors for the amateur Olympia this weekend.
Massive shot. I think that's the biggest one that they've had. And again, what I was saying earlier is, like, 6 months ago, Hadi didn't even know if he can get a visa to come into the country. And you got to train through that, hoping that you get it. Can you imagine he looked like this, and a week ago they tell him no visa? We would have one of the best bodybuilders in the world sitting back home. And it would be a whole different dynamic we're talking about tonight.
Now, Neil, what was that switch we just saw with Dexter and
William? Yeah, to me that tells me that the number 1 and 2 is definitely the battle between Hadi and Brandon, just because of the situation. Otherwise, you would put William potentially in the middle of those two and put him in the center and compare him between those two athletes. And if first, second, and third in no order is those 3 athletes, then they're totally different shapes and structures. Look at them.
Well, don't be surprised if Dexter Jackson pulls up into 4th place.
Yeah.
Because he's made better improvements than Rolly did overnight. I believe I firmly got Steve Kuklo in 6th.
Hadi's shoulders and arms were just bursting off of each part they're supposed to be.
Well, you know what? If he doesn't win the contest, he's already won the country. What he's done in his first Olympia right now is significant and will be talked about for years to come.
Brandon
There it is.
And let me tell you something. They're not giving them a chance to rest. You know why? Right now, this is where you earn your money. They're giving $400,000 away. You better get back out there, and they've got to fight for it. If you come out there thinking this is going to be a walk in the park, somebody, look at the look on Brandon's face. He's like, I'm ready for this. You got to fight for every inch of space on this stage.
So this is your top 3.
And guess what? None of them are over 5'7". The last guy to win that tall was Dexter Jackson in 2008. It's been 11 years.
Brandon switch. Well, we know that top prize is $400,000, but second and third, $150,000 and $100,000 respectively.
Steve Weinberger's playing with us. He's got them all moving around like a magic act, not letting anybody get comfortable in their positioning.
I definitely feel that Williams had an injury on his right quad.
Well, I can tell you, that didn't slow him down because a year ago he was a little bit watery and he wouldn't have been in this lineup. I believe he was 4th last year, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he is the benefactor of not having a Sean Roden and a Phil Heath and a Big Ramy in this competition, because the injury, however slight or even noticeable, he's still going up against a 49-year-old Dexter Jackson that didn't bring his A game and a potentially injured Rolly Winkler who's slightly off too.
William was actually 5th last year. Brandon was 4th.
Okay.
With Rolly in 3rd.
Either way, he's the benefactor. William is the benefactor of certain circumstances involving the other athletes right now. And it just goes to show you, you can't put on a show unless you actually show up. And it's a hard road to get to Mr. Olympia.
William was 4th last year. Roden, Heath, Rolly Winkler, William Bonner.
Correct. Thank you for correcting that. William is making note of how big his arms are. They are big, but the judges can see that. Calm down, William. One of William's best body parts is his arms, and he was definitely making sure the judges were noticing. You see they keep inching closer to him. There's a reason for that. The closer you are to the judges, the more three-dimensional you look. But they are smart enough to keep them in the best lighting, to have them on the line so that no one has an advantage.
Okay, now, I just saw an earpiece on Hadi Chupan.
Yes, he's had difficulty hearing for quite some time. A lot of people are trying to he looks like he's trying to read your lips. He doesn't speak English. And so what do? We talk louder, thinking he will understand, but he's got a hearing impairment.
That's a phenomenal pose for William. Any rear pose, he is unbelievable. And personally, me, I have him winning the rear poses.
And you can see that his glutes are very tight. But this is where he loses it. He just doesn't have the width, and that's the genetic thing. Hadi and Brandon are killing him on this lat spread.
And they're getting worked.
And they should. This is what we paid to see. We want you guys to fight it out. That's why you have to practice, practice, practice. Long before you get here, you'll notice some guys start to shake. It's because they didn't practice the posing. It's the hardest thing to do when you're watching your carbs, when you're doing extra amounts of cardio. You get lightheaded very easy. So you have to do this at home when no one's watching, so that when you get here, it's easy. And Steve knows. He's had put some of the world's best bodybuilders through these poses, so they're trying to buy time, and Steve's like, let's go. And they should. Work for it. There's the vacuum.
Oh.
Hadi's the only one that can pull off that vacuum. And you'll notice the bodybuilders are posing slower. They're trying to buy some time.
I personally feel that Williams made some good changes. I feel he's harder, he's drier. But at the same time, Brandon's made some good improvements. I think Hadi's very similar, which shows consistency.
I think that Brandon, as he poses, he's breaking a slight little sweat, which gives him that sheen.
Thank you, gentlemen. Back in line.
That was a great top 3 right there.
They didn't move Brandon from the center. That's something important to note.